I'm Paul with To Live For.
And I am Donna Maria Bordeaux with To Live For.
And today we are really excited to introduce to you all Lynda Adams. And you see the microphones in front of us because Lynda just had us on her radio show where she interviewed us. And the name of the radio show is Successful Balanced Living. And it was a half-hour show, and it went by so quickly because it was such a positive and fun conversation, and it just flew naturally.
Yeah, that usually happens when you have good people on to interview, like you guys.
Thank you.
So thank you for allowing us to interview you and to learn a little bit more about you, because I think you have a lot to share with the folks that are part of our audience.
Thanks. Well, I'm honored that you guys asked. And like I had said a few minutes ago, I have not been interviewed, so this is a first for me. I'm usually the interviewer. And so it's nice to be able to tell my story and how things kind of came to be. So thank you for inviting me.
Sure.
It's great.
So I thought the very first question would be, since we just came out of your radio show, but the name of your radio show is Successful Balanced Living.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to know how that name came about for you, what that means to you, what's the significance behind that?
Well, I have been trying over the past number of years trying to find balanced living. I was working for the city of Westbrook in a municipal position as a city clerk for 7 years, and my life was very off balance. I was very heavily focused on work, pretty much living there, putting a lot of hours in and making that more of the priority. And when things started to shift for me, my father was getting sick, and I wanted to spend more time with my family. And so the balanced living has just been in the back of my mind for a while. And so I got to a point where I left my job and I said, enough is enough. I can't keep doing the things I've been doing. And when I left, the balanced living kept coming to mind. And then things kind of transpired, which we'll probably talk about, but I got involved in a magazine called Essential Living Maine. And because of that, it propelled me wanting to educate other people about how to live a balanced life, because I was able to do that over the past couple years. And I actually have an office locally here in Portland, and it's called the Success Center. And I said, geez, we've got this great center and we don't use it a lot. I ought to open that up to practitioners and people that want to come in and do group sessions and workshops. And I could do that. And how would I do that? And what would I call it? And success just popped into my head. I said, well, it's called the Success Center. So balanced living, successful balanced living, that makes sense to me. And that's really how it came about, and it's just stuck. So I've had it for about a year now, and I'm like, what am I going to do with it though? And so it's just been kind of like evolving over time, and now I have a radio show, and I said that's what I'm calling it. And I'm sure other things will develop beyond that, but that's where we're starting. So that's it.
That's awesome. I love the way you brought that all together. What was when you were living not in balance?
Mm-hmm.
How did you know you weren't in balance? How were you being impacted? What were maybe some of the negative or unhealthy patterns, or what was going on for you where you realized this isn't working?
Well, I actually got involved in a network marketing company about 6 years ago called ACN. And one big thing that they do is promote personal development. And it's not about just making money. It's about how can you develop as a person and into a leader. And from that personal development, I just started, listening to radio every day, or listening to reading personal development books. And I just started learning over time that you need to have all the areas of your life balanced. And what I was experiencing as I was learning about personal development, I started becoming more aware of things in my life that I didn't feel good. Right? I was tired a lot. I didn't have time to really exercise. And if I did, I was having to wake up super early in the morning when I really didn't want to work out, and I was forcing myself to do it, and it didn't feel good. I remember going to a specific exercise class, and I hurt my back because I knew I wasn't supposed to be there at 5 o'clock in the morning running around like a mad woman. So, and I just wasn't eating healthy. I had gained a bunch of weight. I was stressed a lot. I was having to go to the chiropractor because my neck was constantly going out from tight muscles, and I just wasn't healthy. And, even at home, my husband will probably attest to this. I wasn't, super happy all the time, right? Things got stressed out. I got stressed out easily. And I just really was not overall, I wasn't happy. And the wake-up call was, I think, from first the personal development, really diving in, reading more, watching videos, and going to different conferences and workshops where I could learn from people. And as I started diving into that, that's when all these different areas of my life, I started waking up and realizing that, guess what? I wasn't put here to just work and get a check to pay my bills. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here for a purpose. What's my purpose? And that's what I kept asking myself for the past few years, and things just started to materialize. So, yeah.
That's a great question. What is your purpose? That really does make you
Yeah.
look like you were going to ask something.
Were there some things that you had to let go of that were difficult for you in your quest to find a more balanced life?
I would say one of the things that I found difficult was, a couple things. I normally tend to be a worrier, and a planner. I'm a Virgo, and I want everything pre-planned. And so when things don't happen the way they're supposed to happen, I used to kind of get off kilter, and I'd get really upset about it. And it's taken me a while to just learn that everything happens for a reason. And I just have to kind of let that go and let nature take its course and trust my gut instincts. I have a very strong intuition, and I, like probably most people out there, I tend to not listen to it. And I let my logical brain kick in, and I think, no, this is the way it's supposed to be. And so it's taken me a while to learn that. And then the other thing is my associations. Very important who you hang around and who you listen to. And that has a direct impact on you in your life. And I really had to start changing some of my associations in my life, and if I really wanted to have a more positive path. And I had some friendships that I actually let go that were difficult. And they really probably to this day don't understand why I don't really hang out with them anymore. And it's not like I had a direct conversation with them. It's just I stopped calling them as much, and I stopped, hanging out with them as much. And still love them. They're great people, but I'm just growing in different areas. And I struggled with that because they were my friends, and they are my friends. But I had to know that I want more. I want more out of life. And so those are two areas that I've been having to deal with. Yeah.
Those are great points. And a saying that I love, who and what we choose to spend our time with is directly related to the quality and character of our lives.
It is.
And sometimes they are difficult choices.
Right. And, and the other thing too is when I talk about planning and worrying all the time, and I've really been trying hard to learn to be present in the moment, and really just enjoy what's going on right now. Because if you do that, you don't worry about the past, what could have happened, what could have been, and you're not worried about the future, what's going to happen tomorrow, right? All you have is today, right now. So if you focus on being present, you enjoy that moment, and you realize that it's not your brain that's in control. It's life. It's right now, and enjoying what's happening. And so I've been really trying hard to be present a lot.
You're an inspiration.
Thanks. Thank you.
How does your radio show, Successful Balanced Living, help you with that? How does it help you be in the moment?
Well, I, leading to this show, I got involved with Essential Living Maine magazine first as a marketing director. And from that, I just started learning a lot from all the doctors and practitioners I was meeting through alternative medicine and fitness coaches and financial coaches. And so with that, I'm learning a lot, right? And so it's helping me learn how to be successful in all the areas of my life. And then it led to the radio show. And with the radio show, I just see that as another media outlet of letting people tell their story to affect the public and the community, to make some positive changes. And so the Successful Balanced Living, it feeds my soul. I've learned when you give, you receive. And so having the show and inviting people like you on to share your message and help other people, it just really is helping me be successful in my life as well, because I'm just learning. I'm learning. I don't know everything, and I'm amazed at how much I don't know. My husband jokes around, you know everything. And I don't know everything, and I really am open to learning. And because I look at it as that if I learn, then I can teach other people, right? And that's really what it's all about, is just to kind of pass on the information that you have. And it's amazing how much you can influence other people just by me talking about what you guys talked about today, I can share that with someone else, and then that's going to be shared with someone else, and it just has a ripple effect. So I hope that answers your question.
It does.
Okay.
It does.
I think you being true to yourself and following what feels right to you, even if it sometimes wasn't the easy thing, and you have a presence, you exude so much enthusiasm and joy and excitement that it makes you want to really listen to what you have to say.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
So you mentioned your father.
Mm-hmm.
I think you had said he had gotten sick,
Yes,
and that seemed to kind of precipitate this whole shift for you.
it did. Yeah. So my father had been sick off and on for, over 15 years. Started when he got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and then it led to heart disease, where he had a couple open heart surgeries, which then led to a stroke. And so I just saw him getting sicker and sicker over the years, and he was all about traditional medicine. Went to the doctor, got put on medication over and over again. And for him, it was easier to take a pill or shoot himself with insulin than it was to eat healthier or exercise. And I really think that that's where a lot of people are today, is it's easier for them to do that than to be more proactive about their health. And so I started seeing some of my friends' parents go through the same thing and get diagnosed with diabetes and get cancer and heart disease. And I was like, God, there's got to be a better way. It's not that difficult. I read a book about cutting back on sugar, and I started cutting back on all of those things and started losing weight just from making a small change like that. But for them, even though I would sit down with my parents and try and educate them on how easy it really was, it wasn't for them for whatever reason. And so I started putting out there, just started making the statement, geez, I wish there was a way that I could help people, but who am I? I don't have a medical background, and I don't know all of the specifics of how to make people healthy. I know what's worked for me. And then my paths, the personal development started kind of leading me down, like rethinking things and with my job. And I didn't really have another job to go to when I left the city of Westbrook.
That was pretty gutsy.
People probably call me nuts, but I've just always in my life have listened to my intuition, and some things just transpired that really woke me up to say, you're not supposed to be here anymore. I remember the day I said to my husband, I feel like I'm living a slow death. And I was like, I am not passionate anymore. I'm sitting here doing a job that I don't really feel like I'm feeling fulfilled anymore. And I need something more. And so I left, and my intention was to focus on my network marketing business that I had built on a part-time basis. And then shortly after that, my father got sick, really sick with colon cancer. And blew my mind that he had not had a colonoscopy in over 30 years. And my question to his doctor was, did you just never suggest it? What happened? Because my gosh, that's like one of the most preventative cancers out there. And he just said, I suggested it. We just never pulled the trigger and made the appointment. And I said, well, that's just really a shame, because now my father has colon cancer that is spread into his liver. And now he's having to go through all of this treatment. And so he had surgery. Thank goodness I did not have a job at the time. I had built some residual income from my business. I was able to stay with him and take care of him, and really spend good quality time with him, going fishing and all of these things we really hadn't been able to do because I had been working. And so if I had had that job, I never would have had that experience with my father. And I would have been stressed out, had to figure out how to fit it all in. And so for the last year of his life, I spent time with him. He just passed away in March. And, it went from colon cancer to liver, and then he fell and hit his head and had brain surgery, kind of hematoma. And because of that, he had to be off chemotherapy. And so absolutely. So the cancer spread. I'm grateful that he never got to the point where you hear a lot of cancer patients where they're deathly ill from chemotherapy. And he really never got to that extreme. And what ended up taking him was a condition that was formed from the cancer that broke down his blood cells, and he ended up having a lot of mini strokes, and within a few days he was gone. But I'm so grateful that I had that time with him. And so that just really propelled me forward. And believe it or not, when I was going through all of that with him, the magazine came into my life, Essential Living Maine magazine. I'm coming out of Hannaford one day. I walk by, it catches my eye. I go back in, I pick the magazine up, and I said, "What's that?" And I brought it home and I sat down and I started reading it, and it was like a light bulb went off, because all of the articles in there are written by practitioners and doctors that are local that want to educate people on how do you live a healthier life and more naturally. I'm like, this is what I've been talking about. This is what I've been talking about for a number of years now. And it really is this easy. And so there was an ad in there, and they were looking for a marketing director. And I read the ad, and it was me. They were like describing me in this ad. And I said, no, I can't do that. Right? I'm got this. I'm focusing on this. I'm helping my dad. And I just couldn't forget about it. And so I called the owner. She lives in Connecticut. And I said, I'm really curious about your magazine. And so we had a great conversation. I happened to be going to Connecticut the next week, was going to be in the town over next door to her.
Synchronicity.
Absolutely. And I said, can we grab a coffee and just have a conversation? And so we did, and we hit it off. And a week later, I was working for them.
Wow.
And I love it. And because of that, it now led me to the radio show. And it just, I'm very passionate about it, very passionate. And it's because I'm able to help people, right? With something that I love and I feel passionate about. I'm able to connect people out there looking for that information and help them get healthy at the same time. And ultimately, that's what I wish would have happened with my dad, right? A number of years ago, that I had been exposed to this before that, but now I can help other people because of what I went through with him.
And you're transforming the pain of seeing him through so much illness and losing him, and you're transforming that into a gift for everyone who gets to hear you.
Exactly.
See you.
Yeah, that's how I look at it too. So turn the negative into the positive, like you're all about, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, I'm thinking bright light. So you're this bright light. What are you doing to keep that bright light? What is some of your tricks of the trade to stay on that positive, radiant being that you are?
Well, we just got done talking all about following your passion, right? So, I have all kinds of things that I love to do too, and I try to make time for those things. So I try not to get so busy that I forget about my passions. And so I'm a singer. So I love to sing.
Cool.
And yeah, so I actually had started a rock band, believe it or not, singing hard rock. This was about 7 years ago. I formed a band. It went great for a while, and then I just got busy with my job, and I said, I can't do this all. I was getting sick, and so I got done with it. But once in a while, I'll get out to open mic, and I know quite a few musicians out there, so I'll go out and I'll jam a few tunes, and it kind of feeds my soul. I love kayaking. You were talking earlier about kayaking. I love to kayak. Connecting with nature, walking out on the trails, and really just connecting. And so that's what I do to feed my soul, and I try to make time to do that. And I've learned about the varying emotions and how you have these negative emotions that aren't healthy for you, like guilt and shame and fear. And it's taken me a while, and every once in a while I find myself getting sucked back into that of feeling guilty when I make time for myself, right? And I should be working. I should be doing that. I should be cleaning the house. I should be doing the dishes or the laundry. And I just really have to take a step back and say, I can wait.
Yeah, where does that come from? Why do we do that to ourselves?
I don't know. I don't know if it's ingrained in us from when we were children, from our parents, or I have no idea. But, even if I want to just sit down, and I don't watch a lot of TV, but sometimes I'm burnt out, right? I've been reading a lot or doing a lot, and I just want to sit down and veg, right? And dump my brain for half an hour and watch the boob tube, they call it. And I'll be like, oh, my husband is a super hard worker. And I'll be like, oh, if he comes home, I'm going to feel bad if I'm sitting here watching TV. It's like, what? I work hard too. Why shouldn't I take some time? And so that's the whole thing, is I really have tried to get over that. I don't feel bad if I want to make time for myself. If I want to take an hour or 2 hours and do something that's going to fuel my fire to lead me on to the next best and greatest thing, I'm going to do it.
I'm on that same path.
You have to.
our mind tells us what we should be doing, and I check in with my heart. Like, what would make me feel, what does my heart need right now to be comforted or excited?
Yeah, do what you want to do. Don't do what you should be doing, what people think you should be doing, right?
Donna Maria's she's really good at that. I live with the response. I got to walk the dogs all the time. I got to do this. I got to do that. And so I'm learning from her. It's one of the benefits to our relationship is we have things to teach each other.
That's great.
And she's really good at that.
Yep, you complement each other well. I can tell. In the short time I've gotten to talk to you guys.
So how do people learn about you and your work? So we have the website successfulbalanceliving.com.
Yep.
How about the radio show? Is that also would they find out about that on the website?
Yeah, so if they go to my website, which is totally a work in progress, it says wave making in progress, and that is a true statement. So they can go there. There is a link to the radio station, and they can link through that. And then there's also, I'm going to have a link on there to the magazine. So if they want to read articles about that as well, they can do that. But they can read about me on that website.
And you just made an announcement that I'm really excited about. You are partnering with someone else out of Falmouth.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are putting a show on, an event. It's called an event.
Yes.
On December 7th, I think.
December 9th.
December 9th.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So I had mentioned before about having the Success Center and wanting to have workshops and events there. But to be honest with you, I've kind of had to reevaluate, and I was like, geez, the rent there is really expensive on my own, and I don't know if I can continue that. And so, again, throw something out to the universe. It's amazing how things materialize. So I met Liz Jackson, who already has a place in Falmouth called the Center for Balanced Living. And she wanted to do the same thing I was already going to do. She wants to hold monthly events and workshops there. So I called her a few weeks ago and I said, Liz, I'm looking at closing my office, the Success Center, and I really would love to team up with you. I've got, I actually have a meetup group as well called Successful Balanced Living. I've got almost 500 members on there. We call them balancers. Wow. And so between that and promoting through that and the radio show and the magazine and then her network that she has, I said, I really think we can do some good things together and cross promote. And so she said, great. So we have our first event coming up. It's on December 9th. It's with Graham Connolly. He is a certified medium. Right. He is based here in Raymond, and my connection with him, I met him through the city of Westbrook quite a few years ago, but then within the past year or so, I actually took a mediumship 101 class from him at Leap and Lizards.
Very cool.
And again, I know I was led to that because what happened with that is it proved continuity of life to me. I had some very profound things that happened to me in that class where I had one of the other students' mothers come through me to her. No doubt in my mind that it happened. And so because of that experience, I shared it with my parents. And we had Graham come and do a group reading for my family.
That's great.
Last summer.
That's so cool.
Oh, it was unbelievable. We were actually, my parents rented the house that we grew up in Raymond. It was for rent for the summer. So we went there for a week. The whole family gathered and we watched old home videos and just really reconnected as a family.
That's so special.
And so I brought Graham in and I said, will you please come in and do a reading for us? And my father, I don't think he was a firm believer of it. He wanted to believe, but he really wasn't a believer yet. But one thing happened during that reading where out of the blue, Graham looked at my father and said, did you almost shoot your foot off when you were a child? And my dad's expression was shocked. And nobody knew what he was talking about. And no one knew that story but him. And I said, what happened? What is he talking about? And he said, oh, well, yeah. He's like, when I was 10, I was out hunting with my two uncles. And I had the shotgun down, pointed at the ground. And it went off. And it blew the sole of his shoe off. It just missed his foot.
Oh, my God.
And one of his uncles had just passed away. That was there. That was one of the ones that was there during that incident. And he was the one coming through Graham to my father to prove that there is continuity of life.
Wow.
And so that was
cool.
meant to happen because, my dad was going to pass away. So he needed to believe that there is something more beyond where we are today. And so because of that, I said to Liz, the first one we got to book is Graham Connolly. I got to bring him in and let's do a big group reading and see who comes through for the people who are there in the audience. So we're going to do that on December 9th, and we'll see what happens. It's going to start at 6:30 to 7:30. We're going to have a little discussion about, is there continuity of life, and how do spirits come through to us, and what are some things maybe we've experienced. And then we'll do group readings for 2 hours. And not everybody's guaranteed that someone will come
Right.
through. Of course, you don't know, right? But yeah, so you can actually go to, where do we even have that?
You have
Well,
it on your Facebook
I'll
page.
have it, right. So you know what? I'll actually Facebook Successful Balance Living on Facebook. I have it there, but I'll also put a link on it to my website as well, and people can get to it. The tickets are $30 in advance, so very reasonable to go.
What is the seating capacity there?
It can hold up to 150 people. So
That's the theater that we
yeah,
were considering.
yeah, it's a great auditorium right there in
I've heard.
Falmouth at Lunt Auditorium on Lunt Road.
I'd like to go to that.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very cool thing. And like I said, we're hoping to do at least monthly sessions. And Liz does some great things there too, like you guys are doing. She has a soul cafe the first of every month, where they come in and do music and poetry and readings, and whatever feeds your soul and fuels your soul, just feed it out there to the community. So you guys should definitely connect. Yeah.
Well, believe it or not, I'm pretty confident. Yep, we've surpassed a half hour again. But so I just want to review the different initiatives. So folks can find you at successfulbalanceliving.com.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You have a Facebook page, Successful Balance Living, as well.
Yes.
And at the end of our interview, we post links to this.
Okay.
So that'll be out there. And then your magazine that you're the marketing director for is Essential Living Maine.
It is.
And I'm looking forward, thank you for this copy. I'm looking forward to taking this home and reading this.
Thanks.
Me too.
So that's another way to get in touch with Lynda. We are just so blessed to have met you today.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate the time you provided us for your radio show and the time you gave us for us to interview you.
Well, thank you. I'm honored that you guys invited me to the show today, and I'm glad you agreed to be on my show. It was definitely great, and hopefully we impacted a lot of people today.
We ought to do a part 2 like in a year from now. Part 2, because I think you have a lot more to say.
Yeah, part 2 will be very interesting, I'm
Part 2
sure.
update
Yeah,
where
we'll
we
be like
are
the whole
at.
next step and beyond where we're supposed to be.
I'm really excited for you, and thank you for
Thank you.
all you do for the community.
Thanks. I appreciate it. You guys too.